On Extra. Have a good weekend.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. A day of major news, including some late developments. A break in the Reagan cabinet over the war on drugs, a change in President Reagan's Persian Gulf policy, and the latest case of air safety, danger that bordered on disaster. Tonight, officials ponder a mystery explosion that ripped part of the roof from a commercial jetliner almost 5 miles up in the skies near Hawaii last night. And survivors marvel at the skill of a steel-nerved pilot. Correspondent Jerry Bowen begins our coverage.
The Aloha Airlines jet was parked on a distant ramp at Maui's main airport today as federal investigators tried to determine the cause of the mystery explosion that ripped a 20-foot opening in the forward fuselage with almost surgical precision. The FBI is involved in the probe, but a bomb has reportedly already been ruled out. The jet, with 90 passengers and a crew of 5 aboard, was en route to Honolulu from Hilo yesterday afternoon, flying at 24,000 feet when the explosion hit.
Suddenly went poof, a loud noise, and it just, the whole thing come apart. And I personally thought we were all gone.
What were you thinking?
Well, that was it. I didn't think I was going to live.
Well, there was an explosion, and it started with a hole in the ceiling of the aircraft. Then as we were coming down, I guess with the speed of the plane, it was tearing apart the fuselage of the plane. It was just ripping it apart.
Well, something hit me in the head, and stuff was running past me, and I just had to get out of the way.
The rapid decompression sucked one stewardess out through the gaping hole. Clarabelle Lansing, a 37-year veteran of the airline, is presumed dead. Passengers held on to a second flight attendant to keep her from being pulled away. Helicopter pilot Fred Slusser took this video during the hectic minutes following the emergency landing. Rescue workers were still helping the 60 injured passengers, 13 of whom remain hospitalized tonight, 2 in critical condition.
6, 7, 8.
And a stewardess was taking a head count to learn if anyone else had been lost, as the crippled jet, powered by just one engine, limped 25 miles to a safe landing. Witnesses marveled at pilot Robert Schornsteimer's ability to bring the jet in at all.
I mean, it was just going like that, you know, like he made a real good landing, whoever it was, because the wind was just blowing the people. You could see their hair and stuff, like you could really see the people from the hole.
And when it was all over, the passengers who had cried and prayed and in some cases simply waited to die sought out the pilot to say thank you. More than a few survivors told Captain Schornsteimer the landing of Aloha Airlines Flight 243 was the best they'd ever had. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Kahului, Hawaii.
Speculation on what may have caused a huge chunk of the Aloha Airlines 737 to break away is focusing on structural failure, possibly caused by metal fatigue, cracks, corrosion, or high cabin pressure, rather than an explosion.
Our word is that the FBI nor the experts on scene have found any evidence of any explosive device.
It looks like the top of the fuselage failed at some bulkheads and some seams.
The Aloha 737, 25 miles from Maui, was flying at an altitude of 24,000 feet when the front section lost its roof. Passengers say it sounded like a large balloon popping.
There was an airworthiness directive put out by the FAA last year that required the airlines that operate 737s to look in approximately that area of the fuselage for cracks.
A similar accident occurred in 1981 in Taiwan involving a 737 which was flying at 22,000 feet. A large section broke loose and the plane crashed, killing 110 people. Investigators later attributed the accident to corrosion. The FAA says cracks and corrosion have been found on Aloha jets 8 times in the past 5 years.
Well, corrosion is a serious problem, and in any environment. It's particularly of concern when you're operating in the Pacific, in a saltwater environment.
There is another similarity between the Aloha and Taiwan 737s. Both were older jets, built in 1968, and had experienced tens of thousands of takeoffs and landings. Structural failure has been the cause of many airline disasters. 2 British Comet jets came apart in midair in the 1950s. 346 people died when a DC-10 crashed near Paris in 1974. And 3 years ago in Japan, a 747 crashed after its rear bulkhead collapsed. 520 people were killed. Investigators tonight are examining the Aloha 737's gaping tear. trying to learn why the jet blew its top. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, Atlanta.
President Reagan's official, optimistic election year line on the war on drugs came in for blunt criticism tonight from Mr. Reagan's own Health and Human Services Secretary. Dr. Otis Bowen says the president isn't doing enough. He doesn't agree with Mr. Reagan's claims that the war is being won. White House officials tonight are doing their best to play down the rift. CBS News correspondent Rita Braver reports on Otis Bowen and his conscience breaking ranks and going public.
Health and Human Services Secretary Otis Bowen has come down hard on his own administration's failings in the drug war. In an unusual move, Bowen released text of remarks he made to President Reagan yesterday at a private meeting of the president's new drug policy board. Bowen disputed the White House line that the drug problem is coming under control, saying, "Generally speaking, Mr. President, I prefer optimism to pessimism as you do, but today I don't know how I can honestly be very optimistic about the war on drugs." Privately, many of the president's advisors say they were stunned when he recently made this announcement.
We've stopped America's free fall into the drug pit. We're getting our footing to climb out.
But Bowen became the first administration insider to offer a public critique, calling for more money for research and treatment for drug addicts and for using government muscle to talk turkey with local leaders who don't want drug treatment facilities in their backyards. And in an apparent bow to Democratic presidential candidate Jesse Jackson, Bowen said he's getting some of his highest marks for his passionate and creative oratory on the drug epidemic and is poised to steal from our party what has been a traditional Republican issue, law enforcement.
When the Secretary of Health and Human Services tells the president that we're not winning any wars in this area, I hope that this standard of honesty is shared with the other cabinet members so that the president would finally realize just how serious this problem is.
Tonight, Bowen's office and the White House insist there is no conflict, that the president and the health secretary agree that much has been accomplished, but much needs to be done. Nevertheless, Bowen's statements are bound to be greeted by many as an important admission that the Reagan administration's war on drugs has failed. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
U.S. officials now say a promise from Kuwait to Arab hijackers ended that siege of a Kuwaiti airliner last week in Algiers. Kuwait reportedly promised early release for a few of the 17 terrorists held in Kuwaiti jails. However, the U.S. officials say those prisoners have not been freed, and Kuwait, they say, probably had no intention of actually letting them go. The U.S. officials also say that the gunmen are still in Algeria. They killed 2 of their hostages during the 2-week hijacking. After a week of conflicting reports, the Reagan administration said today President Reagan has changed the rules and expanded the role for U.S. military forces in the Persian Gulf. Terrence Smith has that story.
After conferring with his senior advisors at the White House, President Reagan decided to expand U.S. military protection in the Persian Gulf. Until the clash with Iranian naval units a week ago Monday, U.S. forces had been protecting only ships flying the American flag. Under the new rules, U.S. ships and aircraft can respond to requests for assistance from any friendly, neutral vessels under attack outside declared war zones. In a statement issued late today, Defense Secretary Frank Carlucci said this new protection would be provided without sending additional U.S. forces to the Gulf. Carlucci also said the U.S. and its allies will cooperate in an expanded effort to find and destroy mines in the Gulf. On Capitol Hill earlier today, one congressional leader was pushing for more Allied participation.
I'd feel much more comfortable, though, if the Allies were brought in on it and we had divided responsibility in the Gulf instead of creating the impression that America has assumed the total responsibility.
Though the new policy is clearly aimed at Iran, one expert says it may also restrain its enemy, Iraq.
To the degree that Iraq is going to launch any attacks against neutral merchant ships, it will do so either within the war exclusion zones or outside the reach of where American warships and aircraft are stationed.
White House officials stress that the U.S. is not about to become the policeman of the Persian Gulf. As one official put it, this new policy simply means that we won't allow attacks on neutral shipping to take place right under our nose. Terrence Smith, CBS News, the White House.
A U.S. Marine helicopter has been missing ever since last week's U.S.-Iranian battles in the Gulf, and today the Pentagon ruled the 2 crew members were, quote, killed in action. Iran said it shot down the helicopter. The U.S. statement did not directly confirm this, but it did say the crew reported a radar contact from an unknown ship just before they disappeared. With just 1 month left before Reagan-Gorbachev summit, Washington and Moscow are maneuvering and firing new propaganda blasts at each other. The Soviet party newspaper Pravda today accused President Reagan of, and I quote, imperial arrogance, and charged that the U.S. military is reviving its plans for nuclear war. In Washington, the Pentagon put out a razzle-dazzle report on the Soviet military threat. Eric Ingberg has it.
The way the Pentagon is spreading the word in a new video and book, Soviet leader Gorbachev may talk peace, but he's just as dedicated to military supremacy as Kremlin bosses of the past.
Although we certainly hold out the hope for meaningful change, we've seen no discernible evidence of the Soviets changing the offensive nature of their force structure and deployment patterns.
The annual Defense Department assessment of Soviet power, a full-color book promoted in a video starring Carlucci, finds the Soviets spending heavily on such long-range weapons as SS-24 missiles and Typhoon submarines. But much of the finger-pointing today was aimed at a recently discovered system of deep tunnels which might enable Soviet leaders to survive a nuclear attack.
These facilities contradict in steel and concrete Soviet protestations that they share President Reagan's view that nuclear war can never be won and must never be fought.
The report does not mention the underground bunkers the U.S. built for its leaders in the event of war.
The Soviets have a large system. We have a larger one.
Critics like Gervasi claim the Pentagon overstates the Soviet threat in other areas. The book, for example, says the Soviets have air defenses so good they might be able to repel U.S. planes. But it neglects to mention that a young West German pilot landed a small plane near Red Square, causing the chiefs of the air defense system to be fired.
A lot of what we see when we put numbers together is mere fantasy. It has nothing to do with what commanders are going to face on a battlefield.
Pentagon warnings of a Soviet Union still embarked on an offensive buildup, Gorbachev notwithstanding, come just as the president is preparing to go to the summit in search of a new arms agreement.
I think it's a fair message from the Secretary of Defense to the president that, boss, as you go over there, just be concerned that this guy doesn't sell you a lemon.
There's another warning on the Soviets from the Pentagon in this 175-page, slickly printed book. Beware of Gorbachev. He's a bear on getting good public relations. Eric Engberg, CBS News, the Pentagon.
New doubts raised today about whether President Reagan will get something he wants from the U.S. Senate in time for the Moscow summit, ratification of the missile deal he cut with Gorbachev at the last summit. The Senate, it turns out, won't even debate the missile treaty until May 11th, and that's only if new U.S.-Soviet differences over the deal are settled. Among other things, the Soviets reportedly have backed away from agreements to guarantee that there is no cheating. Still to come on the Friday CBS Evening News. Bruce Morton on the trade bill and the pocketbook vote in the heartland. And Terry Drinkwater on the hatching of perhaps the world's most coddled egg.
Yesterday, Liz Garland bicycled 20 miles. Today, she'll pay for it.
Boy, what did I do?
That's why her next move is to Metaprin. Metaprin contains the same medicine as Motrin, and nothing's proven faster for relief of body aches, muscle pain, or any kind of pain. It's also gentler to your stomach than aspirin. Metaprin works fast when you haven't got time for the pain.
It's here.
Traffic 2, over.
A sleek new example of design leadership. A sophisticated sports sedan with true feel-of-the-road handling. Its name, Ford Tempo GLS. The new Ford Tempo GLS. A more sophisticated way to express your driving ambition.
Now get a $500 cash bonus from Ford on manual transmission Tempos.
Now for indigestion, gas, introducing new extra strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new extra strength Malox Plus.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Spills clean up fast with the cordless Hoover Double Duty. Dry spills and wet spills too. The Hoover Double Duty. Now where there's a spill, there's a way.
A U.S. official confirmed today that operatives for President Reagan have reached tentative agreement with Manuel Noriega. The agreement reportedly calls for Noriega to resign as Panama's military chief, but to remain in the country, at least for a while. Up to now, President Reagan and his aides had insisted Noriega get out of Panama as well as give up power. The U.S. official today said they had to settle for 3/4 of a loaf. But in Panama, Noriega's foreign minister denied any agreement has been reached. And few people there seem to think the U.S. had won even half a loaf. Juan Vasquez reports.
Even as Washington sources confirm they are working toward an agreement, General Noriega's backers stage an anti-American demonstration that has the look of a victory parade.
There is no question he will not leave Panama.
And Noriega's new foreign minister downplays any talk of a deal in the making.
No agreement is today in effect. There is no such agreement as has been said in the American media.
What some call a face-saving solution is seen by the opposition as no solution at all.
He's dealing behind the backs of the Panamanian, and his deal don't mean anything to the Panamanian people.
Noriega has insisted all along that he would step down only on his own terms. Now, many people here believe Washington has agreed to most of those terms.
Noriega is getting off fairly easy, it seems to me. He loses his command, and therefore, eventually, he will lose a lot of influence, but he's not likely to end up in the United States to stand trial, and he'll retire with a very tidy sum.
Opposition leaders say they're fighting for democracy, a goal that may be impossible if Noriega is allowed to remain in Panama.
It seems to me that it's very unlikely that we'll be able to really democratize our country with Noriega right here in our midst.
Noriega will complete a 5-year term as commander of the armed forces in mid-August. Sources here consider that a likely moment for him to relinquish power without appearing to bow to American pressure. While the negotiations over Noriega's future continue backstage, Panama's economic future looks bleak. Bankers say it will take more than $1 billion to undo the damage caused by American economic sanctions. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, Panama City.
On July 26, 1983, the Gaynor family had a heart attack.
When John had his heart attack, really happened to all of us. Our whole family changed. One of those changes is our diet. Now it's low in saturated fats and cholesterol. Fleischmann's is a part of that diet. It has 0 cholesterol, and another thing, it tastes terrific. I mean, I want to keep him healthy, but I want to keep him happy too.
Fleischmann's. It does your heart good.
Thanks, children. I'm the luckiest mother in the whole world.
Hi, Molly.
Uncle Merlin.
Is this a tea party?
Mm-hmm. For Mother's Day. And look what I got.
Oh, an FTD preserve jar bouquet.
Of course, I deserve it. I'm a good mother.
Oh, your children must really love you to give you such pretty flowers.
And this jam jar and spoon.
Perfect for a tea party.
Molly, have you seen my Mother's Day bouquet?
The preserve jar bouquet.
Why I like stovetop in a canister. Where I work, I never know when. My boss will drop in and shout, "Let's party, men." So what do I make the whole crew to eat? Stovetop in a canister. It's wonderfully neat. It's the stuffing they love, and I make it by the cup for 2, 6, or 8. Whoever shows up, there's always enough. And you know what's nice? We redo the scene so we can eat it twice.
Stovetop stuffing in the canister.
Another sign today of what some analysts call surprising strength in the economy and good news for Republicans running for office. The Commerce Department said its main gauge of future economic activity rose a strong 0.8% in March. That increase in the index of leading indicators represents a sharp reversal in the forecasting measure since the months right after October's stock market crash. The nation's economy is fast becoming a test issue between George Bush and Michael Dukakis. While Republicans are optimistically talking up today's economic indicators, Dukakis is honing in on President Reagan's plans to veto the big new trade bill. The one that, among other things, would make many U.S. companies warn workers of layoffs and plant closings. This is an issue that hits home in states such as Ohio, where there's a primary on Tuesday. CBS News chief political correspondent Bruce Morton reports tonight on the early positioning of Bush and Dukakis on the jobs issue for primary day and election day.
In Portsmouth, Ohio, down on the Kentucky border, the reminders of jobs lost twist slowly in the wind and rain. All of our basic industry, a man here says, has left. 90 miles further north, Columbus is all boom and bustle. Youngest population of any city in the country, the mayor says, growing fast. Michael Dukakis came here with a strong message on jobs.
I'm not running for president to overthrow governments in Central America. I want to create jobs in Middle America. That's what I want to do.
And Dukakis blasted the Reagan administration's decision to veto a bill giving workers advance notice of plant closings.
This bill will help us to save jobs, and it should be the law of the land.
Is jobs and the plant closing law a winning issue for Democrats here? This is a patchwork quilt state. Closed mills in Youngstown, the millionth Honda rolling off a Marysville, Ohio line.
People are very insecure about their jobs, and I think that's the reason why the plant closing advance notification is such a key and cutting issue.
The plain truth is, in the state of Ohio, thanks to the president's policies, our unemployment has gone down and our employment has gone up.
But in Portsmouth, they say they can't get started without federal help.
A lot of the federal programs that could definitely assist us in attracting industry have been eliminated by the Reagan administration.
Vice President Bush, for his part, stresses the positive and says Dukakis doesn't.
There are more Americans at work than any time in the history of this country. And so he can talk about pink slips, and I'll talk about competitiveness.
And hope, some of his advisors feel, that the plant closing issue will go away.
My guess is that what George Bush is going to do is to lay back on the ropes, take his punches, and hope that the issue dissipates before the fall.
The Democrats are campaigning here for jobs, for full employment.
My own view is that a Democrat can only win if he stays focused on jobs and the economy.
Jobs and the economy. Parts of Ohio prosper, other parts don't. Governor Celeste thinks both parts are worried. Ohio is a bellwether state. If you want to be president, you need to win here. Economics looks like the issue the contest here will be about. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Columbus.
The government said today that sales of new homes increased in March for the second month in a row. Last month's rise of 4% was seen by analysts as new evidence that the housing industry may have bounced back from the slump that followed Black Monday. In Washington today, tens of thousands gathered on the mall, singing, praying, and some talking in tongues in a day of prayer for their churches and their country. Organizers of the Washington for Jesus rally said it attracted people from all 50 states and more than 100 foreign countries. Religious figures preached from sunrise to sunset, touching on problems of drugs and crime and the nation's, quote, corporate sins. Police estimated 85,000 people attended the services.
Rich stain and tough polyurethane protection in one. Polyshade by Minwax. Get a beautiful finish in half the time. A finish to be proud of. Polyshades by Minwax.
In a new survey, we asked 1,000 doctors if stranded on an island, would they want Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol, Advil, or Bayer. Doctors chose Bayer, 3-to-1 over extra strength Tylenol. Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Welcome to another round of Name That Cereal. Fruit and fiber cereal tastes so good, you forget the fiber. Are you ready?
Yes. Sweet and chewy dates, fat raisins, meaty walnuts, crisp light flakes.
All right, name that cereal.
I know. It's fruit.
Oh, sorry. It's post-fruit and fiber cereal packed with delicious fruit and high-fiber flakes. Tastes so good, you forget the fiber.
At Red Lobster, we know how you love shrimp. Lots of shrimp. So here's 29 shrimp, 4 different ways, all in one dinner. Succulent shrimp cocktail. Sizzling shrimp scampi. crispy fried shrimp, and savory stuffed shrimp. It's the ultimate shrimp lover's feast. 29 shrimp, 4 different ways. This week at Red Lobster. And now, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, too, enjoy the shrimp and crab feast, just $10.95. And kids' popcorn shrimp, just 99 cents.
All right, you're about to look at a bit of history that happened today. Since early Wednesday, San Diego officials have monitored around the clock a 10-ounce egg about 5 inches long. And now they're seeing the first California condor chick conceived in captivity. Terry Drinkwater has the pictures.
The tiny condor chick pecked its way into the world late today, 48 hours after the first crack appeared in the egg, and right on schedule on the 57th day after it was laid. It was a crucial moment in a 15-year struggle to save the condor from extinction. When fully grown, today's new arrival will have a wingspan of 10 feet, the largest bird on the continent, and tonight the prognosis is good.
He seems to be moving around quite a bit and squawking and putting up quite a fuss in there, so he looks strong so far.
What's next after he breaks out? What does he eat?
They'll feed it a mixture of minced up meat and vulture vomit to start it off.
The chick's parents are the first ever to have mated in captivity, with a fertile egg resulting. The father is just 7, the mother much older, perhaps even 30. Today's hatching means there are 28 California condors now in the world. 14 like this one were hatched from eggs taken from nests in the wild. It will be years before any of these giants can be reintroduced into their natural habitat. Indians believe condors are sacred because they swoop down and take human souls to the heavens. Tonight, this newest condor was given the old Indian name for the bird, Moloco. Terry Drinkwater, CBS News, San Diego.
Soon to be Big Bird. That's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather, Susan Spencer will be here tomorrow. I'll see you Monday. Good night.
You know Canon's new personal zoom copier can magnify my image.
Or cut you down to size.
And Canon cartridges sure make it easy to maintain, which makes this PC7 the newest star in my family.
Guess you can't pick your relatives.
Personal copiers for every personality.
Couldn't tell anybody my problem. Couldn't tell my boss I don't feel like coming to work because I'm constipated. Some excuse. What's he going to say? Hey, take a laxative. Sure. Then get on the bus and hope that it doesn't kick in? Then one simple idea changed my life. Daily fiber therapy. Metamucil fiber therapy. See, fiber helps keep you regular, but I wasn't getting enough. Now I get plenty. And Metamucil fiber won't irritate your system like a harsh chemical laxative. Works with your body, safely, naturally. So, with Metamucil every day, I got regular and stayed regular.
Metamucil, and you could stay regular for the rest of your life. Now available in a new, larger economy size.
Whatever happened to real food? You know the kind that just tastes real good. Go on a dinner I can't pronounce. By the ounce. Whatever happened to real food? You know the kind that just tastes real good. Give me a steak and I won't be blue. I got a taste for some real food.
Eve, real food for real people.
This is CBS.